Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So here's a newly updated deck profile for you guys today. This time it's on Salamangreats. Now this time I decided to take a different approach with Salamangreats and try to figure out like what is the best way to adjust the deck to deal with the current meta. Because Dragon Link is probably the best deck right now. Dinosaurs, it's like crazy strong right now. But then again, Dinosaurs, I'm not too worried because by this point you should already know how to combat that deck. You should already know what that deck's weaknesses are. But again, you just got to be prepared for it. Zodiac, Eldritch, or just Eldritch in general. But yeah, Zodiac is still really good. There's just so many good decks right now. And honestly, like, you just got to know how to best deal with them, There's also some good rogue matchups too. So again, I just wanted to figure out, like, what is the best approach for Salamangreats now where I can kind of be prepared to deal with just about anything. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys today. So anyway, let's go and get started. All right, so the main deck's still 40 cards. So starting off with the monsters, playing one copy of Gazelle. Gazelle's still an amazing card. I wish this card was back to at least 2, but it is what it is. So 1 copy is all we got to work with. So yeah, 2 Foxy, not a bad starter. Can pot a duality for you. And also, what's also great about this card is that it can get rid of face-up spells and traps. So bonus, right? 2 Spinny, pretty good extender, as well as Jack Jaguar, which is also one of your recruiters. And of course, 1 Falco, another recruiter. And I'm so happy this card is finally getting a holo upgrade along with Foul, but I'm not running Foul in this build, so yeah, Falco's still pretty good though. Moving on, your main starter is actually going to be Flame Buffalo. I'm not running Debug simply because Debug's just too prone, it's just too vulnerable to pretty much any hand trap right now, and I think Flame Buffalo is just better because A, you can chain block, B, it fixes your hand, and yeah, I mean, the fact that it's a Cyberse monster easily gives you access to Balinks anyway, so yeah, why wouldn't you run this? So anyway, moving on. 3 copies of Parallel Exceed, easily the best extender of the entire deck. The fact that it makes itself into a level 4 can go into some rank 4 plays, or you can just continue going into some of your link plays too. So Parallel Exceed is freaking awesome, so I love this card. Alright, so that's it for the actual main monsters. Now we're moving on to hand traps. I'm running 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Naturally, this is going to be your best hand trap because A, it's recurable, and it's a fire monster. So, yeah, Ash Blossom's just crazy good right now. And I'm actually main decking Artifact Lancia. Lancia is just so universally good. Simply because, A, it stops Dinosaur. They can't make miscellaneous Saurus plays. They can't go into Tyranno at all because you have to banish. Can't play Pill either. So, yeah, Artifact Lancia, this card alone basically shuts down Dinosaurs. This also works really well against Dragon Link when you think about it because they do run the Chaos engine. And because it makes it so awkward that where they can't use their best extenders anymore. Yeah, Lancia could just be that card that essentially buys you an additional turn to basically OTK. This also works very well against Eldritch because, their traps basically replace themselves at the end phase. And as long as Lancia's in play, they can't do anything about it. So yeah, Lancia is just really good. So I would actually recommend main decking this. Try it out, see how well you like it, and yeah, not too bad. And thinking about it now, this also combats Evenly Matched. It combats Cosmic Cyclone because, your opponent's going to want to get rid of your back row. It doesn't work against Twin Twisters, but I think since most people are leaning towards Cosmic Cyclone anyway, does that really matter? No. And there are ways to stop Twin Twisters too, so I wouldn't panic. But yeah, Lancia is just so good right now, so I would suggest try it out, But yeah, that's it for all the monsters now. Now moving on to spells. For spells, 3 copies of Sign of Mining. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. I decided to pump Pot of Desires back to 3. This is one of those cards that kind of goes from like 2 to 3 all the time. So it's like, sometimes I'll play it at 3, sometimes I'll play it at 2. It just depends on like how well do I need to like adjust the deck. So it's kind of one of those cards that changes its ratios a lot. Another card that I decided to bump back up is two copies of Willow Salamangreats. Before I was running just 1, but now it's back to 2. Simply because Willow Salamangreats is that, in case if you need to bait out your opponent with, like, if they happen to run Ghost Spell still in the main deck, having that additional copy may help. So, and since, still running Monster Reborn, which we'll get to momentarily, yeah, like, it's just a good way to, get some of your cards back and just keep generating yourself some advantage. For the one-ups, of course, playing 1 copy of Sanctuary. The field spell, of course, everyone knows what this does. 1 Circle. And, of course, as I mentioned, 1 copy of Monster Reborn. And I finally got my hands on a Lost Art promo, so I'm so happy that I got it. So, but yeah, Monster Reborn, you know, an additional revival piece. Why not? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, now moving on to trap cards. I am running 9 trap cards actually in this deck. Starting off with the in-archetype ones, playing 2 copies of Roar. This is your deck's counter trap, so essentially you basically can negate pretty much everything. So monster spells or traps, well, monster effects, I mean. So yeah, and it also has a self-recurring effect. I rarely find the need to use that unless I have like multiples of the trap cards, like 1 Roar and 1 Rage. If I want to recur one with Sunlight Wolf's effect, I'll use that and then have Roar re-self-occur with its own effect. So the only thing I don't like about that is that it banishes, but, you know, I guess just to keep it balanced, it is what it is. Which, speaking of which, 2 copies of Rage, one of the best removal pieces in this deck, so yeah. All right, next, 3 copies of Solemn Strike. So instead of playing Impermanence, I decided to go with Strike simply because Strike is just so good. Yeah, you have to pay 1,500 life points for it, but the fact that it's a counter trap, it's a lot harder to dodge. I mean, the fact that you can negate any monster effect is really good. So Solemn Strike really comes in clutch a lot. So yeah, I definitely would recommend it. And the newest addition to my deck, 2 copies of Torrential Tribute. I was playing 3. I was experimenting with this deck. I cut Monster Reborn to play 3 copies of Torrential Tribute, but I decided to bump it down to 2. I think 10 trap cards was just 1 too many. So I was saying, you know what, I'll cut the Torrential Tribute to 2. It's still really good because, like, it's one of those cards that I need to play if I know I'm going first anyway. So, and if I lose the dice roll, that's when the card becomes kind of a brick. So that's why I figured, you know what, 2 copies is fine. And that way, if I know if I'm going to go second on the next game, I can side it out easy peasy. So, yeah. All right, so that's pretty much it for the main deck. Now moving on to the extra deck. For the extra deck, you're going to find this a little interesting, but I'm actually only playing 2 copies of Baylings now. Mainly because I never see the 3rd one. So, and again, there's good reason, because extra deck spacing is really tight with this deck, because the deck really relies on its link monsters. But again, Baylings at 2 should be fine, especially because the fact that you can actually use it to protect yourself from your own Torrential Tribute in case you already have a board set up. But again, I never really see the 3rd one, so that's why I figured, you know what, just 2 should be okay. I mean, I could always bring it back to 3 later if you know, down the line something doesn't work out anymore. I'll just cut that 1 card and then bring back Baylings to 3. So again, this was highly experimental, but so far it is working for me. So, I mean, again, try it out for yourself, see if you like it this way, and yeah, just kind of go from there. 1 Almirage, you already know why I'm running this. You know, in case if I only open up with a hand trap and a Exceed, I can still go full combo with my Salad Play simply by normal summoning one of those hand traps, specifically Ash Blossom. Go into Almirage and then Parallel Exceed makes 2 more. And then from there, I can make a Baylings and then just go from all there. And you pretty much get the gist of it. So, yeah, that's the whole point of this. All right. 3 copies of Sunlight Wolf. So, again, this is your main recruiter. Whenever a monster summons to its arrows, you get to recur a fire monster and also recycles one of your spells and traps as long as it was linked with itself. 2 Heatleo, another form of back row removal. Unfortunately, this does not get rid of field spells. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So, yeah, Heatleo, still not too bad. And it can also help you with some OTK potential. But overall, yeah, you mainly just use Heatleo to bounce back row. For the 1-ofs, 1 copy of Splash Mage, you know. This helps get into Access Code Talker. I had actually cut it for a while because, you know, I was testing out another card. But this is actually the reason why I bumped Baylings back to 2, simply because I can make room for Splash Mage. So, yeah. Again, like, Splash Mage is not 100% needed because, you know, it's kind of easy to go into Access Code without it. But, yeah, it's just there, you know, in case if I have to use it. 1 Update Jammer, of course, is pretty standard. Transcode Talker and Access Code Talker. And if you don't have this yet, that's fine. You know, just wait for the reprint. For right now, you can play Topologic Zero Boros. You can play Avermax. You could actually pretty much play whatever you want, really. So, yeah, Access Code Talker is not 100% needed, but this is a really good win condition if you want to go this route. So, and that's pretty much it for the Link monsters. Now for the Xyz monsters. Now, this is where things get really cool. Everyone always says this deck hard loses to Nibiru in. That is actually correct. It does. But I actually put in a new monster in here that actually helps me combat that. I'm playing 1 copy of number 75, Bamboozling Gobs of Shadow. So this card actually does out Nibiru because it states when an opponent's monster activates, it doesn't specify if it's on the field. It just has to be a monster effect. Quick effect, you can attach 2 materials and make that monster's effect turn into where both players just draw one card. And the fact that it's a rank 3, it's super easy to make with this deck because, you know, you have a bunch of level 3 Spinny, Gazelle, Foxy. That's really not hard to make. So Gossip Shadow is actually one of those cards that I just bring out as insurance to make sure my combos go through for sure. One copy of Baguska. You know, this is actually pretty good. It turns off dinosaurs, basically. And also could help you with Dragon Link sometimes, too. So since, you know, they do need to need their effects to go off, it can be tricky. But, of course, there are Link monsters. It doesn't work on them, unfortunately. But Baguska can come in clutch for the right matchup, I guess you could say. And, of course, Abyss Dweller. Still got a lot of graveyard effects floating around, so Abyss Dweller really comes in clutch, too. And that's pretty much it for the extra deck. Side deck, you know, 3 copies of Nibiru. I'm running it myself. 3 Droll and Lockbird can actually stop Dinosaur also. Can also stop Dragon Link. You know, it stops a lot of decks, really, as long as they rely a lot on searching. Droll and Lockbird is just one of those cards that really come in clutch, really. 3 Forbidden Droplet. I'm running this simply because my deck is capable of running it. It's just like Dark Ruler No More. The only difference that, you know, you're not restricted to with the battle damage restriction, basically, where Dark Ruler No More, your opponent takes no damage. But Droplet, you know, you don't have to worry about that. So, and plus the fact that your opponent can't really respond to it based on whatever you discarded or sent from to the field to the grave. Yeah, Droplet can actually come in clutch. But again, if you don't have access to this, don't panic. Play Dark Ruler No More. It's much cheaper. You know, it's just as good in my opinion. Next, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. You know, one of my favorite spell cards, as well as Harpy's Feather Duster. Also running 2 copies of Evenly Matched. This is primarily for back row heavy strategies. But it's also good against Dragon Link if you happen to stop their, basically negate their board with Droplet or something. This will really come in clutch. And of course, 1 copy of Imperial Order for like any spell reliant deck, like Sky Strikers, for example. Imperial Order does come up sometimes. So, and what's also fun is that you can send this off a Droplet too and still resolve it. So it's pretty nice. All right, well, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys again next time. Sorry about that.